Hey guys, and welcome to my review of Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. This is a book that was released earlier this month on June 3rd. It's so far been received really well, and it makes sense why. It's a really great read, and I'm not just saying that because I love Stephen King. This is basically the story of a retired detective named Kermit William Hodges, who goes by Bill Hodges throughout, being taunted by a murderer terrorist that he failed to apprehend before he retired. Hodges was one of the best detectives on the force before he left. He only left 3 cases unsolved. 2 of those cases are touched on a little bit throughout the story, but one, the Mercedes killer, haunts him specifically. A year ago, someone drove a stolen 12-cylinder Mercedes-Benz into a crowd of people that were waiting in line at a job fair. He killed 8 people and wounded several others. This is actually where the book begins. We see people as they begin to line up for this job fair. It's 2009 and the economy is pretty awful, so all these people are really desperate to be there and to hopefully get a job at this job fair. We follow some early birds as they get there, even the night before, to camp out and wait for it to open, and then we see the tragic event happen right before our eyes. Fast forward to Hodges' retirement. He's divorced, lonely, depressed, watches way too much daytime TV, and walks around with his father's gun in his hand all of the time, sometimes puts the barrel in his mouth to see what it tastes like and to see what it feels like. Until one day he receives an anonymous letter in the mail, supposedly from the Mercedes killer himself. He teases Hodges, makes it obvious that he's been watching him, and mentions the way too much TV he's been watching and the gun. It's obvious that the killer hopes to depress Hodges even more, kind of tip him over the edge, but it may not have that desired effect. In fact, it may have the opposite effect. But on the other side of things, we follow a young man named Brady Hartfield. He lives with his widowed alcoholic mother, has 2 jobs, and loves computers. We get a look into his thoughts. What we see is this sick, twisted freak that finds joy in remembering what it felt like to run over the bodies in a Mercedes 1 year earlier. He finds joy in it, and now he finds joy in taunting Hodges. He gets joy out of watching who he calls the fat old cop suffer. He finds joy out of thinking about what it would be like to walk into a crowd of people with a suicide bomb vest on. As you can tell, he's one really fucked up guy. On top of all that, he's quiet, but he's not awkward. He's not handsome or attractive, but he's not ugly. He's very normal, and he blends in really well, and he really likes that. He also has a sort of unnatural attraction to his mother and her underwear, but we won't get into that. So basically this is a kind of cat and mouse story. We follow both Hodges and Brady as they face off against one another. Hodges has to figure out who Brady is, and he knows it's only a matter of time until Brady goes out and does something even worse, so it's really like a race against the clock kind of thing. Brady, in his original letter to Hodges, gives him a password to this chat site called Under Debbie's Blue Umbrella. Debbie's Blue Umbrella. It's a site that claims to be different from any other social media. It's just an anonymous chat site. You can't send pictures, only text. You can only have conversation with people, just random people, and then the text that you send just gets deleted after you send it. Brady uses the site to further taunt Hodges, and actually we get a look into how this site has been used before. Throughout the book, we get other various passwords, and you can actually go to www.underdebbiesblueumbrella.com, put in these passwords, and see for yourself what is there. Give it a try while you're reading. There's not as much there as I wish there was, but it's still kind of interesting to look at. Anyway, I really like the story a lot. It was really gripping, really fun to read. Both Hodges and Brady are really great characters, and really interesting to read from the perspectives of. This book is written in third-person present tense, which is not something I've ever seen Stephen King write in before. At least I don't ever recall him ever writing in something like that before. It kind of threw me off a bit, honestly, when I first started reading it, although as you get into it, it kind of makes things feel a little bit more urgent, if that makes sense. Brady is probably one of the most twisted characters that Stephen King has ever written from the perspective of, at least in a book. And I mean, there's different levels of messed up, but this one is just a new level, and it's really creepy to read from. I mean, it's pretty relevant to events of the recent past, into the mind of people that are able to go out into the world and do these horrible things. It's crazy, and it's really interesting to see where that crazy comes from. And then Hodges is awesome. At first it's really depressing to read from his point of view. We kind of feel his pain slash general indifference towards life after having left the police force, after his divorce, after being unable to catch some of these criminals, after being able to catch Mr. Mercedes, and after receiving the letter, he kind of finds a new drive to go out and do something with himself to a almost obsessive extent. Like, he becomes obsessed with finding Mr. Mercedes. And it's really believable. It's a really nice development in his character to see how he becomes more and more obsessed with finding Mr. Mercedes. Then there are other characters that are really interesting to learn about, like this young, smart kid named Jerome that helps Hodges a lot, and we learn a little bit about the family of the woman who is the owner of the stolen Mercedes. And overall, it's just a really thrilling story with a lot of really great characters in it. The only thing I was a little bit disappointed with was the story seemed a little bit small. Like, I just expected it to be a little bit bigger. I mean, Stephen King really thrives when he writes big stories and like big casts of characters, but we really only follow and learn a lot about Hodges and Brady, and although those two characters are really interesting, there's a lot left to be desired to learn about everything else. And like I said before, the present tense writing was a little bit weird for me, and I feel like writing in that way and also writing in third person and all of that kind of made it seem like it should have been a little bit bigger than it was, and overall just made it seem like a lot smaller of a story. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's just how I felt while I was reading it. It made it seem like there was a lot less going on than there usually is in a Stephen King book. I mean, that's fine though, really. It was still really fun to read, really exciting to read, and it was definitely still really good, and I kind of have to rate it compared to other Stephen King books, like his more recent works. Like, I didn't love it as much as I loved Joyland, which I thought was just everything that it needed to be. Joyland was everything that it needed to be, and it was just really, really good. And then Dr. Sleep, which was I liked a little bit less because it felt like it was missing some things. So I guess Mr. Mercedes was kind of like in the middle of those two, and is the reason why I gave it like 4.5 stars. Apparently this is the first book in a trilogy, and the next one comes out at the beginning of next year, and it's called Finders Keepers. I mean, this is the first time Stephen King's ever done anything like this. I mean, he has the Dark Tower series, but that took decades to finish, and then like The Shining and Dr. Sleep, and those have decades in between them. He's never really done anything like this where he writes a sequel this soon, so that's going to be really interesting to read, and I really hope it's as good. I really hope it expands on the story in a really good way, and in general it just should be very, very interesting. And overall, I really think this book is really good. I really think a lot of people would like it a lot. It's a really good Stephen King book. It's written really, really well. I really like his recent works a lot. I love the way his writing has developed over the years, and this is just a really great book. I'm really excited for his next book to come out in November called Revival. That story sounds even more interesting to me than this one did, so I'm really excited to read that. And yeah, I hope everyone will go check it out and see for themselves whether or not they like it. And anyway, so that's the end of the review, and now we'll just go ahead and jump right into figuring out the winner of the Mr. Mercedes giveaway. Hey guys, so this is where I'm going to pick my Mr. Mercedes giveaway winner. I've googled this YouTube random comment picker thing, and it's pretty cool. Basically, you just enter the URL of the video, and this is the video where I announced the giveaway and where everybody commented. You click load comments, and it basically loads every single comment. There's 241 comments, so 241 people entered this giveaway. Well, not everybody entered the giveaway, so hopefully whoever we pick is the actual winner. So basically I just have to pick this randomly pick winner button, and we will have our winner. So our winner is named Nikki Kitty. She says that her favorite author is Stephen King. That's awesome. She said her favorite books are Misery or The Dead Zone. That's cool that someone that knows they love Stephen King won. I will be messaging Nikki Kitty with the details of how I'm going to try to send this to her. I will send that message probably right before I post this video. So if you are her, then you should go check your messages. It should have gone to your email as well as your YouTube messages, so check that. And if you don't have it, then just message me and I'll make sure we figure it out. I'll give you some time, just in case you don't see it right away. But yeah, congratulations to the winner, and thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for entering the giveaway. I'm gonna do another giveaway very soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon with more.